All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of Triple Threat Talk. I'm your host, Connor Ryan. It is Tuesday, November 12th. Yeah. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Great weekend for sports. Great college football slate. Miami lost. Georgia lost to Ole Miss. Bama blew out LSU. Really good Sunday football slate that we got. Don't know how the Lions won, but they did. Jared Goff threw 5 picks, but the Lions won. Patrick Mahomes did a deal with the devil, and they got that block kick to prevent them from losing to the Broncos. Patriots won. Always a good thing. But we're here for basketball. You know it. You love it. I hope you do. Whatever. We're going to talk about the Sunday games. We're going to talk about just some of the matchups, some of the stuff I saw. And then we're going to get to some questions from the Instagram. But the main thing on today's episode is the NBA Cup. Starting on Tuesday, I think we have 9 games, I want to say, on Tuesday. And then I think we even have 10 games on Friday, all related to the NBA Cup. And to anybody who didn't listen to, I think it was episode 2 when I got asked the question, or maybe episode 3 about the NBA Cup from my good friend Andrew. Hope you're listening to this episode. Hope your run is going well. I really like it. I really do. I was extremely skeptical starting out. I was worried that they weren't going to care. I was worried the players weren't going to care. I was worried that they were going to kind of just half-ass it and not really pay attention to anything that was happening during it. But, I mean, when you throw in a money component, especially for rookies on rookie contracts or even like vets who want to make a little bit of extra money, that always helps out. So obviously the Lakers won it last year against the Pacers in Vegas. We're back in Vegas this year, and I think that's kind of where it will be for the foreseeable future. I do like the fact that the quarterfinal games or the semifinal games and then the actual final itself it's in Vegas at a neutral site. It really does show, all right, who was the better team today, not just who can use the momentum of their home crowd better, who's a better road team, but it was a great success. So I'm very excited to break down what I think will happen. But we shall get into it. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. And we saw it last night on full force. If you weren't watching Sunday Night Football, which I don't blame you for not watching for the first half, but I hope you caught the back end of it. Nikola Jokic is by far the best player in the world. 37 points, 18 rebounds, 15 assists on 62% shooting. That has never happened before. Not even the shooting number, but specifically the 37, 18, and 15. 62% shooting. He shot perfect from the free throw line, and he shot perfect from 3. And I really think that people are kind of undermining this fact. When is Nikola Jokic going to be brought into like the GOAT conversation? I don't think he'll pass Jordan. He won't pass Bron. He won't pass Kobe in terms of like that GOAT level. But the conversation for the greatest peak in NBA history is very much up there. Like Jordan from 90 to 93 and then 94 or 95 to like 98 is up there. Braun on the Heat, um, Tim Duncan in the mid 2000s, Dirk in the mid to late 2000s, KG his MVP season, Hakeem in 94-95, Shaq early 2000s, Larry Bird mid 80s, Magic mid 80s. Like these are just some players like that when you think of like the greatest of all time, you're going to think of them, obviously. Like they have the championships, they have the MVPs, they have the totals to back it up. I don't think we have ever seen somebody to this extent. Like obviously like Jordan was like the reason the Bulls were winning games. And LeBron was the reason that the Cavs were winning games in their first stint especially. But I don't know if we've seen this total completion of offense from a single player like this effectively. And sure, you could say Wilt, but like Wilt was playing against people who were literally like half his size. The only threat he had was like Bob Pettit at times and Bill Russell. So beyond that, it was like there wasn't really much he had to worry about. Jokic is slower than your favorite player, heavier than your favorite player, and a little bit shorter than like some of those like true centers. Like he's only 6'10", 6'11", I think, depending on some people you ask. But there is nobody I trust more in a situation to like help facilitate an offense right now than Nikola Jokic. Like sure, I think there are better like transition playmakers, a la Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton, kind of in those stints. But if you need somebody to get you 30 points, to get you a 30-point triple double with the efficiency, with the impact that he brings to the floor, it is ridiculous. He is the guy. The question now is who is number 2? On basketball reference index, it gives you like who they have in terms of MVP, like who MVP rankings. They have Nikola Jokic 1, Jason Tatum 2. The probability right now for Nikola Jokic to win MVP, according to Basketball Reference, keep in mind, we're about 10 to 11 games in, depending on the team, is 91%. Tatum is in second with 3. That is a 88% difference. When have we ever seen a gap that big this early? And it's not like Jason Tatum is like playing poorly. Sure, not the best shooting nights from time to time, but I will say it's like because of the lack of Kristaps, it's the lack of Jaylen Brown for the last couple of games, and we'll get into the Celtics in a little bit. But it is so clear that there is nobody better right now than Nikola Jokic. And there's very little anybody can do to stop him. Like, he's the best trailing big man in terms of spot-up shooting. He is one of the most efficient players in the high post creating offense. He sees the floor better than anybody. What are you going to do to stop it? You can't. And you really have to think, like, when was the last time? Like, all right. When was the last time we clearly said this player is by far the best player in the world? I know people are going to say like 2016 to 2018 LeBron. There were people, aka Steph Curry, who you could like easily say like, oh, I think KD is better. I think Curry is better. I think Giannis, who's hitting at peak at the time, James Harden. The last time I would say like I'd say league wide, it felt like this is the best player was Miami LeBron. And before that, then it was like Kobe in the mid 2000s. It was LeBron in the late 2010s or late 2000s. But you just have to sit back and watch. There's no doubt about it. There is no second choice. Like, if you want to say, hey, your favorite player is so and so because they're on your team, go ahead. No shame in that. But there is a clear number one best player in the world, and it is a Serbian man who plays for the Denver Nuggets named Nikola Jokic. 37, 18, and 15, 62% shooting. That is ridiculous. And the craziest part is he didn't even have the best shooting night / the best scoring night in his game against on Sunday. That was Kyrie. Kyrie has really been in a rejuvenation, kind of. Like, he kind of heard the disrespect that he got after the finals, which was warranted. Like, you go from a 22, 23 point per game scorer against Minnesota, and then you drop all the way down to about 15 to 18. Like, that's a massive dip, especially in terms of finals talk. Like, Kyrie ended with 43, 5, and 5 on 77.3% shooting and 75% from three. That is crazy. Like, the final shot he took, bold choice of a final shot, kind of a wing three, wings left side three with Peyton Watson on you, a much longer, taller defender. Is Peyton Watson an all-league defender? No, but like, the length helps. Like, he tipped the ball and caused the shot to go awry, but it really didn't look like he was going to miss. And I think that shot goes in if Peyton Watson doesn't tip that ball. And then obviously the discourse changes, and then you get a despite the loss Jokic performance. But I knew the Nuggets weren't out of it, especially after having a slow start. And that's just what it was. It was a slow start. They needed to find their rhythm. They needed to find their rotation. Strother, Brown, and Peyton Watson, they're picking up the pieces. Russ is having a couple good games. And they just need to get fully healthy. They need to get Aaron Gordon back. I know Jamal came back, which is great to see. But the Nuggets are definitely a threat for sure. I don't know how I don't know if my only concern is Jokic is doing everything. If he doesn't play a game, what happens to that offense? There is a 43 point difference between his presence on the court and off the court. Like, I don't know when we saw a difference that large in terms of like a player literally like having that impact. It's impressive. It really is. And for it to be this way is magnificent. Like, he really does like help control the offense very fluidly, very, very thoroughly. But it isn't like he's like, give me the ball. I know, like, I need to score. It's very natural, and it's great to see. Luka, 24, 9, and 9. Very good game. 47% from the field. Not great from three. To the guy, I know he isn't listening to this, but to the guy on Instagram that replied like, oh, you're just hating on Luka. It's like so early. Yeah, dude, it was a 2-week take. It was after 2 weeks. Here are the surprising things that I'm seeing. And I just pointed out the fact that Luka wasn't shooting great. Big whoop. Do you want to know who else isn't shooting great? Like, Victor Wembanyama. Do I hate Victor Wembanyama? No. Like, do I like Luka as much as some other players? No, because I think he has a lackadaisical play style at times, and he's not very good on defense. But, like, just chill out, dude. All right? Chill. Next game, Boston Celtics versus Milwaukee Bucks. This was a big game because it really was like, all right, was the win in Boston just like the home crowd for the Celtics, or are the Bucks actually spiraling out of control? Giannis was the best player on the floor by far. 43, 13, and 5 on 62% shooting. His ability to get to the lane, to get to the paint is probably the best in the league since younger LeBron, and just getting out of causing people to get out of the way and just either dunking it or getting an easy layup. But it really is it is just a support issue. I think throwing in Andre Jackson is a great role for them in terms of improving their defense, which they desperately need defensive help right now. And I think AJ Green is a very good spot up shooter. And I know a lot of these things will be alleviated once Chris Middleton comes back. But they had a 17-point lead in the second quarter. And Damian Lillard decided to shoot 26.7% on the game. There was a play in the first half where shot clock was winding down. Dame had kind of not really a double, but just was lost on an island from about 35, 36 feet out. And he kind of just does a running floater from 3. And it was the purest shot I've ever seen. Just perfectly through the net. And I went, okay, it's one of those games. And then he just fell off the face of the earth. He hasn't been shooting well. And I think that's kind of the issue that you get when you have a 2-player system team. Sure, people can make fun of kind of make fun of the Celtics for having a super team, but it works. It very much is just if you had that team, would you not be excited? You know? If the Lakers had Derek White, if the Lakers had Drew Holiday, in addition to Austin Reeves, in addition to Anthony Davis and LeBron James, how do you not get excited? Sure, very fortunate to be a fan of a very good team, no doubt about it. But to think that we don't think it's a luxury is pretty ridiculous. So that's for the Bucks fans on Twitter. Just whatever. Jaylen Brown returned. Not a great performance from him. It still seems like he needs to find his rhythm, but I think once he does, once he finds that outside shot, it will be good. Just I think it was a 14-5-3 game, so not the best, but Stock Exchange came back. Huge 15-point performance from both Derek White and Drew Holiday. Both shot in the 45 to 50% range. Great to see from that. Peyton Pritchard owns the Bucks. It's official. He has a mortgage in Milwaukee, and the 6th Man of the Year conversation is really ramping up for Crypto P. 18 points, 60% from the field, 62.5% from 3, 5 of 8 shooting from downtown. But Jason Tatum was the reason they won that game. 31 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. Again, not a great shooting night. 33.3% from the field. But the big thing that I am seeing from JT is getting downhill and attacking the lane and drawing contact, drawing fouls. 13 of 15 from the line. That is huge. He understands now. It's very much the understanding of oh, I'm having an off night from shooting. I know that I can affect this team in terms of getting to the lane, driving and kicking, and just playmaking ability. That's what sets him apart from, I'd say, other wing forwards that we see in the NBA. We saw it with LeBron in Miami. We see it now with him even more for the Lakers. But you just have to acknowledge the fact that Jason Tatum is the best player on the Boston Celtics, and there is no doubt about it. There's no other discussion. Main takeaway though from this game was the interaction between Giannis and Jaylen on the elbow, and then Giannis and JT on the corner 3-point shot. With Giannis and JB, it very much Giannis at times acts as if he speaks for everybody in terms of how it is to play in the NBA. Jaylen Brown is very much it's like, oh, I will kill you if I can. Like if I get in space and you're with me, I'm not going to be like laughing at you unless you're with me, kind of thing. And so, like, I I both thought it was funny, but I also thought it was like, I don't know why Giannis was expecting the same reaction when he put out his hand and then kind of did like the oh too slow kind of thing and everything like that. If he did it with JT, then I think maybe JT has a little bit lighter reaction, but he did it on um, more of the killer of the two. Um, was it a foul? I don't know. I think it was, but I also understand the no call. Like, you don't really want to like impact it that much. Um, and it's just, it is what it is. The quote though of Giannis as a child is going to do numbers for sure, and it already has. For Jalen, I I thought it was so funny, just being like, he's a child, just plain up, just straight up, and that's just like who Jalen is. Like he doesn't have he has a no BS attitude. It's like you're either with him or you're against him. There's very little gray area in between. So hopefully he gets back on rhythm. In regards to the Tatum one, I do think should have been a foul because that's literally what the rule is. I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, he jumped 3 feet forward. Well, if you watch Jason Tatum shoot, he isn't an up and down shooter. His feet kick out a little bit. Did he jump 3 feet? No, he jumped maybe half a foot. But this isn't the first time that Giannis has done something like this. Like Giannis has a track record of being a pretty dirty player, injuring Kyrie in the playoffs in Milwaukee, like literally headbutting Mo Wagner during the bubble, like literally running, like trucking over Mike Dunleavy for kind of just like getting him off of him, like his like second or third year in the league. So I think at times, like Giannis is one of the best players in the world, no doubt about it. I just think his attitude at times doesn't really pick up when it needs to. But again, that's a Celtics fan kind of perspective on that. New York Knicks lose to the Indiana Pacers in Indiana. The Pacers seem to be finding their rhythm. Halliburton had a really good game. I know I think it was like 34 and 15, and then Benedict Mathurin had a great game with 30 plus points. If the Pacers want to get back to the position that they were in last year, excuse me, those two are the X factors. Pascal Siakam is great. Miles Turner is great. They both are very effective in their roles. If you need two scorers, though, it is going to have to come from Mathurin and Halliburton. Mathurin, he's finally being unlocked in a Rick Carlisle offense, which is great to see. His shooting is very, very prominent. His slashing is very good. It's the consistency. I don't think a single Pacers fan is asking for him to get 30 a night, but they are asking, say, hey, let's get in that upper teens, low 20s on average, because that's what's going to really put them over the top. Tyrese still seems to be dealing with like a little bit of a back injury still, but if you can just get like, I think more so what people are having an issue with Tyrese is not so much his playmaking, because we know he's one of the best playmakers in the world. It is more so the percentages of shots. A lot more threes where like he could have like somehow even more assists with his driving kick ability, which he does a lot already, but like there are times where he will take like ISO threes, like isolation pull up threes, which he doesn't need to. If he like swings it to like somebody in the corner, they might have the open shot, or even like, hey, like the big is pulled out because of Miles, like I can get to the lane. And I think we saw that a lot more in this game, especially with a lack of depth at the center position for the Knicks. And speaking of depth for the Knicks, when Tibbs needs to figure out his rotation, it is a concerning issue. All five starters, all five, played 36 minutes or more. I get it. Those are your five best players. But why do you sign Matt Ryan, a great wing corner shooter, to come in if you aren't going to play him? Precious Achiuwa is not a bad player. All right? He's not a rookie. This is like his fourth year in the league. When is he going to get the time that he needs? I get trying to get your young guys in and Tyler Kolek and Jericho Sims. But you have to take some of the pressure off of your main five. If you have them going into, I think it was like Brunson played like 40 something minutes last game. Cat was in the high 30s. I know he can play every game, but Josh Hart high up there in minutes. Mikal Bridges, who is like the equivalent of Cal Ripken, the modern day Cal Ripken in the NBA, is playing a ton of minutes. It just isn't working. It isn't being effective. And from time to time, it will work. Like if the shots fall, the shots fall. Mikal Bridges wasn't hitting his shots. You got to switch things up. And what the issue of it is it hurts the defensive philosophy of Tibbs. Tibbs is a very much hard-nosed basketball, going to want you to like exert a lot of energy on defense. If you exert a lot of energy on defense and you don't get a lot of time to rest, that leads to poor offensive possessions. The math is simple. The blueprint is there. It's just there's too much talent on the New York Knicks for them to be a, what is it? I think they're a 500 team as of right now, as we speak. Let me see, 4-5. You can't have that. This is one of the most highly touted teams, like one of the more important teams in basketball. They made this massive move for Mikal Bridges, which I don't want to say I was right, but I kind of knew this move wasn't going to be as effective as it was. And I'll get into that in a sec. But you are fifth in the East, tied with the Heat, who are also dealing with injuries. You are one game up on the Nets, the Hornets, and the Bulls. And you're one game back of the Pacers and the Magic. The Cavs and the Celtics look like they are going to run through the East for the entirety of the year. Unless the Bucks and the Sixers like kind of pick things up a lot, then it doesn't really seem like nothing is going to stop them. My Mikal Bridges take was at the beginning of the year when it was after the Cat move happened. I was kind of thinking, I was like, I don't really know if this move really if this trade really moves the needle for me as much as it is for other people. Cat is a much better perimeter shooter than Julius Randle. He's a much better facilitator. He can create his own shot, I'd say, better at times. It loses the toughness of Julius Randle. It loses kind of a true interior presence. But I remember I said, but that's not even the move I'm going to be most critical of. It's Mikal Bridges. 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, who was the main piece of the Kevin Durant trade from Phoenix to Brooklyn, but it was because of his potential. Like, he got so many more touches. He got to kind of have the leeway of saying, hey man, it's you and Cam Thomas right now that are primary sources of offense. Go provide for us. And he was like, all right, I can do that. I'll shoot. I'll take some pull-ups. I'll be able to drive, kick, whatever. And we saw that. He was like, 20 something point per game score. Not the best efficiency, but still, with him, it was very much with Mikal. It's you got to find his rhythm, and once he gets in the rhythm, then and it works, and he finds his spots. He finds his shooting stroke. When you make him instantly, I'd say pretty consistently third, sometimes fourth option, depending on how OG is driving to the lane or how Josh Hart is maybe shooting the ball that night. If you don't have this balance, if you don't have this possibility of rhythm, it's going to get out of sync and it's not going to work. 5 first-round picks for a subpar efficiency scorer who is maybe getting about 20 points per game. This isn't you're not trading for Kevin Durant. You're trading for a very solid 3-and-D guy. No doubt. I think Mikal Bridges is a very good player. But 5 first-round picks is a horrendous trade. And I really hope people start to see that sooner rather than later. And I know Knicks fans are like, do we really just have the biggest overpay of all time? Right now, it's still Rudy Gobert because of the contract. But like Rudy Gobert has defensive prowess and has won one or even 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards in Minnesota. Tibbs needs to find out rotations. He needs to get more players in. He needs to use some of these, not vets, but like more experienced younger guys. Precious Achiuwa, Matt Ryan. Get them in the mix. Take some of the pressure off of your starting 5 and get it going. It's as simple as that. Sounds a lot easier than it actually is. Warriors Thunder. Losing, 8 to 10 weeks. Chet Holmgren, fractured hip. It was a nasty play. It was tough. He literally went up straight, landed horizontally. That's not good to see. It never is. It really does. It really is surprising that they don't have like a single big man right now. Like, let me look at their roster currently, because I know it's like Chet is their number one big man. He's out for obviously 8 to 10 weeks. Isaiah Hartenstein, who I think is going to be back soon, but like still like not in a great spot, obviously. Jalen Williams, not J-Dub, but the one from Arkansas, is out as well. And then Usman Dieng is out as well. Those are 4, like your first, second, third, and fourth string guy is currently out. You can't run combo guard wing basketball the entire game. You're going to run into the Cavs who are going to utilize 2 big men rather effectively and more efficiently, I'd say, than 90% of these teams. The Celtics will get Kristaps back, or even the fact like Neemias Queta moves well for his size. Luke Cornett is rather effective. Al Horford is Al Horford. The Pacers have Miles Turner. The Knicks have Cat. And then in the West, it's the Suns have Yusuf Nurkic. The Warriors, I think, are like the one team where it's like you can consistently run. And like if they got into a 7-game series and like they weren't without any big man, the Thunder weren't, then it would kind of work out because of just how much, like, because a lot of the times like the Warriors will run like a Draymond at the center lineup with like Wiggins and Kuminga. Sure, not as tall as like the Cavs or the Celtics at times, but they still have Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins who are like 6'8". The Thunder were running a lineup where J-Dub was basically their center. I think it was Shea, J-Dub, Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, and maybe Cason Wallace, or maybe like Isaiah Joe, who Isaiah Joe is 6'3". Cason Wallace, also 6'3". Aaron Wiggins, 6'5". Like, that isn't really going to work out a lot of the times. Like, your tallest player on the court last night, consistently wise, was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And not only is it going to be hard for Shai if he has to guard a bigger matchup, he also needs to step up on the offensive side. He isn't being very efficient. He isn't taking the shots he should be. He is rushing. It just doesn't seem like he's finding his flow state. And I think that's a huge part of it. But the Thunder just need to heal up, and then I think a lot of their problems will be fixed. But it isn't looking great right now for the Thunder. The Warriors, I will answer one of the Instagram questions. My good friend Hunter, I hope you're listening to this. I hope you are well. What did Hunter say exactly? Hunter left the question of, is Golden State a threat to the West? I think they are. Anytime you have Steph Curry on your team, very much can lead to a very successful season. No doubt about it. Do I think, though, they will be like a top team? I think they'll be they will for sure be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to be in the play-in because their defensive mindset this year is so much stronger than it was for the last couple of years. Their ability to blitz the ball handler kind of after a screen and roll is working very effectively. Their rotations playing very well. They keep guys fresh. Steve Kerr has them on like a 12 to 13 man rotation, and it's working out very well. No doubt about it. Height at times is a little bit questionable, but I think Trace Jackson Davis and Kevon Looney both understand, like, hey, we are very situational players. We don't need to like get the touches that I know like Kuminga, Curry, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond, like those guys need. So, but I mean, they were up big and like they were up like 30 points on the Thunder, and then Thunder came back, but inevitably the Warriors ended up winning by about 10, and they are a threat. As long as Steph stays healthy, then they are definitely a top team in the West. And then we even saw the stretch without him. There are a lot of guys who stepped up. Lindy Waters was a huge piece, especially in the 2 games against the Pelicans. Buddy Hield has been shooting the lights out. If he stays consistent, then he could easily win defensive player or 6-man player of the year. So I just think they are a very talented team. I wouldn't be shocked though if they go and try and get like a Jimmy Butler to add a little bit more depth, or even, which I don't even know if they really need more depth, but the fact of like saying, hey, we need another guy to score to alleviate the pressure of Steph. Like, I don't know who they would give up to the Heat in that regard, but you really never know. Like, the Nets look like a team that could get Giannis because of how much trade value they have. Same with the Thunder. But I do think the Warriors are going to be a team that is going to cause a lot of issues, cause a lot of shakeup in the West. And I don't think a lot of people are really paying attention to them right now, but they should be. No doubt about it. No doubt. Final game I'll cover, Sacramento versus Phoenix. Horrible news out of Phoenix with losing KD for about a week, maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know. But it's never good when you have a MVP caliber player playing up to MVP levels, not on the court, especially with that team. They seem like they're getting a lot more support than they did last year off of their bench. Ryan Dunn, Grayson Allen, Mason Plumlee at times. They're Royce O'Neal. Those are 4 players you have coming off the bench who are putting in good minutes, no doubt about it. But we saw it in this game. Yusuf Nurkic goes down. Bradley Beal got hurt in overtime and didn't really look like himself for the rest of the game. And you don't have a lot of room for error with the Suns. They are stretched very thin. They aren't like the Thunder. They aren't like the Celtics at times. They aren't like the Cavs. They aren't like the Warriors, where they can kind of, like, hey, you need a rest night. You're one of our star players needs a rest night. Go ahead, take it, get the rest you need. They don't really have that luxury, and that's tough to see, especially from a very talented team. But if they can stay afloat, like if they can stay in the top 4 to 6 in the Western Conference until KD comes back, then I think they will be all good. But it just did not, like, the injury to Bradley Beal, I think, looked a lot worse than it actually was. Like he was writhing in pain during the game. But still, should be interesting to see. Sacramento really has exceeded my expectations so far. I kind of have always almost undervalued DeMar DeRozan. I don't know why. I've always thought of him as like a mid-range merchant, which at times he can be. He didn't really elevate his shot value, like his 3-point shot, as much as I would have liked him to in the last couple of years. But he still has the ability to shoot the lights out. De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, and DeMar DeRozan are really finding their rhythm together. De'Aaron Fox is able to drive to the hole and maybe even just spot up threes a lot more. Domantas Sabonis has played incredible so far. Should be a conversation for MVP or one of the better players in the league. I wouldn't be 100% could see him getting an all-star spot this year. But it seemed like their issue was they just didn't really have like a true closer. And I think that's the role DeMar comes in. He had 24 in the fourth and OT combined. I think he had 17 or 16 in the fourth, 8 in OT. 2 and 1 mid-range shots in OT. And even with Sabonis fouling out during OT, he was able to alleviate the stress. He was able to say, hey, we're good. Calm down. There's no need to rush. Anything like that. And I really do think that's kind of like what has really set them up for success so far this season. Keegan Murray plays great. Kevin Huerter plays great. I think I saw something and it was like one of the best like starting fives or one of the best lineups in the NBA is De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and Domantas Sabonis. I think on the offensive side of the ball. Very much questions on the defensive side of the ball. But if they get back to the rate of offense that they were a couple of years ago, when they were like the number one net or like one of the best offenses in the league, like I want to see what their current offensive rating is. Sacramento Kings offensive rating. They are currently, sorry for this, offensive rating wise, they are ranked 9th behind the Wolves, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Lakers, Warriors, Celtics, Knicks, and Cavs. Defensive rating wise, they are doing a lot better. They are 11th in the league, where I'd say last year or even the year before, they were probably like 20s. So that's a great sign to see for sure. If they can sustain it, if they can maintain this, then I think that is going to really pay dividends and really help with the launch of like their style of basketball moving forward. No doubt about it. Like they are one of the best offensive teams in the league, and I think DeMar has really fit in well. So I'm very excited to see how the team moves forward. Will any moves be made? I don't think so. I think my only concern with them is a little bit of big man help beyond the fact of Domantas Sabonis. I'm looking right here. Alex Len, I'd say is like I'd say Alex Len is like their true center that they can rely on. Orlando Robinson is a little bit too young. Isaac Jones, Trey Lyles is getting minutes. Keegan Murray has height, and so does Kevin Huerter. But if they could, if they somehow got like a Jonas Valanciunas from the Wizards, I think that would be a really good signing for them. But I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. I think it will be interesting for sure in regards to what they might do to help alleviate some of the stress on Sabonis, because I feel like he at times is playing a Jokic role where he's doing a lot, but I think he has a little bit more of a stronger total supporting cast where I think the Nuggets have a little bit better players in some of those slots, if you know what I mean. But Kings have really surprised me so far, and I'm excited to see where they go moving forward. Those were the game slate section. Before we get into the NBA Cup talk, here are some of the Instagram questions I got from my good friend Jonah Newberger. Peyton Pritchard, 6th man of the year? Very possible, for sure. I think I saw something, it was like Pritchard's first 4 years, like he was averaging like 8 points on like 35% shooting or something, and like from deep, and like 40% shooting, not really like being effective playmaking wise. This year, he's really stepped it up. I think he's in like the 16 to 18 point range. Really efficient from three. There aren't really like Tatum on pull up straightaways, catch and shoot straightaways. Is I'd say probably the most efficient, like comfortable I feel in terms of a 3-point shot. That, a corner three from Drew, a wing three from Derek White, but really anywhere from three with Peyton Pritchard, I think it's going in. His value that he brings, and the fact that the Celtics got him for about like $40 million for 4 years is ridiculous. I think he would be starting on a plethora of teams. But Brad Stevens is Brad Stevens, the genius that he is. He saw the value. Pritchard was worried about his contract, and Brad said, I got you. Do not fret. I got you. What did he do? He signed him early, before free agency even was like a thought. Even though it was like alleged that he was unhappy, which he really wasn't. And it worked out. He's playing great. He's playing the best basketball of his career, and that is awesome to see. I don't think he wins it, though. I think it will be like a Naz Reid. I think it will be Buddy Hield. I think if the Warriors end up as a 3 seed, Buddy Hield is going, if they want to be a top 4 seed and have any bit of home court advantage, Buddy Hield is going to have to be consistent. He's going to have to be a major part of it. I just think Peyton Pritchard is realizing that Derek, Drew, Jalen, Kristaps, obviously Kristaps isn't there, but Jalen isn't having the best shooting nights. Derek White isn't sometimes not having the best shooting nights. Drew Holiday is also not having the best shooting nights at times. So Peyton Pritchard is very much stepping in and saying, I will alleviate some of the stress. Tatum, you get your 30. I will provide about 15 to 20 pretty easily. Would I like him to win it? 100%. It'd be really cool to see him win it. Hunter, I already answered your question of, is Golden State a threat to the West? I do think so. Do I think they win it? No. I don't think so. I think a fully healthy Thunder team is a top 3 team in the league. I think right now it's the Celtics, the Thunder, and the Cavs. You can choose the order. It doesn't matter. I think those are the 3 teams right now that are like the teams to worry about if you're anybody else in the league. They play a crazy pace of play basketball, one of the best offensive ratings in the league, and also one of the best defensive ratings in the league. And it shows. Like, sure, they did get blown out by the Cavs, but they really like played the Celtics very well and beat them in Boston. They played the Thunder incredibly well. They beat them in OKC. I think if the game was in Golden State, very much the Warriors could have beaten the Cavs, but we obviously won't be able to see that until later on in the year. But I think that will be a game that people are going to watch and should keep their eye on for sure. The Warriors are a threat. I think what will really put them over the top is if they make a move, is if they feel comfortable saying, Brandon Podziemski, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, we need one of you guys to leave. We are going to let one of you guys go to maybe go get a more prominent role, but so they can bring in somebody to help put them over the top. So, Hunter, great question. Final question, Nick Cutler. Shout out the Yale boys. Eschbach, you are soft. Why did the Celtics lose to the Warriors? And is it anything to be worried about as a Celtics fan? I don't think so. Celtics weren't hitting their shots that night. I don't think they were really truly dialed in to their defensive identity. It clearly was shown that Jalen wasn't in the best health. Also, like Kyle Anderson hitting 3 threes, who isn't a very good 3-point shooter. Jonathan Kuminga, who's a very spotty shooter from 3, was hitting shots. Buddy Hield just couldn't miss. And then also offensive rebounding was very poor. But I mean, we were without Kristaps. We were without Luke Cornett for majority of the game because of a hamstring injury. I really don't think it is anything crazy worried to be. I don't think there's anything to be worried about. I think it's more so the Warriors are legit kind of thing. And I think that's very good for basketball to see. But I really don't think there's anything to be worried about unless proven otherwise. Last couple of games, the Celtics have had pretty slow starts, which we have seen, going down 16-2 in both the Milwaukee game and the Brooklyn game, but both coming back to win through tough defense, hitting shots, and just good spacing. I think if the Celtics can hold to these principles, then I think that's what really brings them over the top. And they also, obviously, they're without Kristaps. And so I think it will be interesting to see like how quickly we get back to how it was last year. Because if it gets quick, then the Celtics become the best team in the NBA again. Right now, it's the Cavs because of record and also just because of dominance. Like they are kicking teams' ass. But it was game 9 or something. It was early. It still is early. If this was like the Celtics were like 40-30 and kind of like having like patchy stretches and then they played the Warriors and just got blown out, then I would be concerned. Right now, the level of concern I'd say is like a 1. The only concern I really have is, can Jalen find his rhythm again? Defensively, we're picking it back up. Our guard play is incredible. Neemias Queta is really finding his position with this team. Luke Cornett is getting back into the swing of things. JT is playing at his best. Will Jalen be able to pick it back up? Will he find his rhythm again? And how are things going to look when Kristaps gets back? If it's anything like last year, then I'm very, very, very comfortable with this team and not concerned at all. But we obviously shall see. All right, folks. NBA Cup time. It was all previously known as the in-season tournament. The NBA Cup is back. New groups this year. I'm going to give how it's going to work. I'm going to break down each group. I'm going to talk about some of the interesting matchups. I'm going to give my opinion on each group. And then I'm going to give out my winners, who I think will be the winner of each group, and then who the wild card is for each side. And then bracket-wise, I know this isn't a final bracket. I don't know how the bracket will work out. But with the teams I chose, these are the matchups I would like to see. Out of the West, in Group A, we got the Timberwolves, the Clippers, the Kings, the Rockets, and the Blazers. The Blazers suck. That's all I'm going to say about them. The Rockets are a very balanced team. I think they're almost early stages equivalent of the Celtics in terms of very balanced, very good depth, very good defensive potential. It's just that's the main thing is potential. Jalen Green hasn't hit full potential, and if he has, that's not great. Jabari Smith hasn't really been playing great. Tari Eason is very underrated and deserves a lot more respect. Alperen Şengün is one of the better players, and I think he might even be an all-star this year. I don't know. Fred VanVleet hasn't been playing well, but it's just a good team. Kings, I talked about them already. Very good roster, very good team. Clippers, I don't know if they'll have. I don't think they'll have Kawhi back for any part of the in-season tournament, but Zubac is playing great. James Harden is back to a very good facilitator role, and if Norman Powell plays the way that Norman Powell is playing, he could easily win Most Improved Player, no doubt about it. And then the Timberwolves, easily one of the stronger teams in the league. Very good depth, very good coaching, very good defense. And it's going to be my concern all year is the offensive flow. I just feel like with Randall, their offense becomes very stagnant. And I just feel like he sometimes like will rush something or drag something, very much like kind of like basketball is very much like jazz in terms of find your spot, pick your solo, pick your moments. You don't want to be rushing. You don't want to be dragging. Simple as that. Thoughts on this group? Really balanced. You have a really bad team. You have a really good team with the Wolves. You have two like solid teams, which we don't really know where they're going with the Clippers and the Rockets. And then you have above average team with the Kings. So yeah, I'll go through my winners and why at the end. Group B for the West. Thunder, Suns, Lakers, Jazz, Spurs. This was easily the toughest group on paper. Actually, no, sorry. Actually, no, it would have been one of the hardest ones pre-injury. Because if you were to come into this group and say, hey, the max maybe that this group could get is 2, and you're telling me either a team like the Thunder, a team like the Suns, a team like the Lakers weren't going to make it, then I would have thought I wouldn't have believed you. It would have just been very tough to see that. This is a very top-heavy kind of group with the Thunder, Suns, and Lakers, and then you just have a massive drop-off with the Jazz and the Spurs. Wemby needs to figure out his efficiency issue. Until he does, then the Spurs are going to be a bottom-pack team, and same with the Jazz. There's just a lot not going well in Utah, but it is what it is. Losing Chet really hurts, especially when you have a situation where he could help guard KD and he could help guard AD. So losing him for 8 to 10 weeks really doesn't help. The Suns losing KD really doesn't help. A lot of the load is going to be on Devin Booker, who doesn't really have a lot of favorable matchups here. Keontae George and Colin Sexton are two very good on-ball guard defenders. The Spurs have Stephon Castle, who is the reason why he was drafted so high, especially to the Spurs, was because of his defensive presence. All right? Austin Reeves is a very good on-ball defender, especially for being a quirked-up white boy in that position. And the Thunder have Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, J-Dub. Those are 4 defenders who I know can guard Devin Booker. So that's just going to be a lot for the Suns to overcome. The West, Group C. Nuggets, Mavs, Pelicans, Warriors, Grizzlies. This is the toughest group. No questions asked. The Nuggets are finding their rhythm. The Mavs literally lost by 1. Or lost by 2 last night. To the Nuggets. They just did. If Peyton Watson doesn't tip that ball, then the Mavs easily could have won that game. But it is what it is. The Warriors, obviously, we've seen what the Warriors can do. And then the Grizzlies, if you get a fully healthy Grizzlies team, that is a team you do not want to face. Ja is playing like an all-star, like one of the best players in the league. Actually, I have to see his injury status. Let me see. Um, out week to week due to hip injury, pelvic muscle strains. That's not good. If the Grizzlies can somehow get to like the playoff in the NBA Cup, then maybe he comes back and is able to produce. But I don't know. It will be interesting to see. But it's just Nuggets are a threat. The Mavs are a threat. The Warriors are a threat. The Grizzlies obviously are a threat. If the Pelicans didn't have so many injuries, then they would be a threat. But unfortunately, they do. And you hate to see it. Zion out. Trey Murphy, I think, is finally active again, which is great to see. But Zion, Herb Jones, DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, those are 4 players that you rely on and you need to succeed in the West. And they don't have them. And that is really tough to see. In the East, Group A, New York Knicks, Orlando Magic, Philadelphia 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, and the Hornets. Again, this would be similar to Group B in the West if Paolo was playing. The Magic looked incredible when Paolo was on the floor, and I think Paolo is going to be, I'd say in the next 2-3 years, he's going to become a top 10 player. He's going to emerge as a superstar, kind of how Ant has. This was his year. And then obviously the oblique tear, not great to see. 4 to 6 weeks. I think he now 3 to 5 technically, but you know what I mean. The Magic obviously still have the potential to maybe steal a couple games here, especially with how streaky the Knicks have been. We don't know the status of Joel Embiid. I know he's going to play in tonight's matchup against the Knicks, but it is going to be tough for sure for the Magic to try and pull this out. The Nets and the Hornets, I do think those are 2 teams that are going to give better battles than people will give credit for. We saw it a couple of nights ago with the Hornets versus the 76ers, barely losing in overtime. What a shot by LaMelo, by the way, in the corner. And the Nets do play really good. Cam Johnson is very good. Cam Thomas is very good, obviously. Nick Claxton cleans up the boards well. And say what you want about Ben Simmons, but his playmaking ability is very talented, and he helps that team win games. So, but unfortunately, I do think it's a 2-horse race between the Knicks and the 76ers, barring that they're fully healthy, which obviously they won't be because of Tyrese Maxey getting hurt pretty recently. So yeah, Group B, got the Bucks, the Pacers, the Heat, the Raptors, and the Pistons. This is a weird group. It's very much an underperforming group in regards of obviously the Bucks are 2-8, not where they want to be. The Pacers are 3rd in the East, but they're only 500. The Heat underperforming, but a big win on Sunday night against the Wolves. And then the Raptors, worst team in the league currently. And then the Pistons are also a team that's a lot better than their record says. And I very much thought this last season. Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, if you get those 2 going, very hard to stop them. No doubt about it. But yeah, I just think if the Heat are able to get some injuries like healed up, and the Bucks are able to right their ship a little bit more, then I think this is what makes it a more competitive group. But the Pacers, just if they're able to continue with the way that they've been playing, I don't really see anybody else kind of stepping in and taking this group from them. Group C, Boston Celtics, Cleveland Cavaliers, the Chicago Bulls, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Washington Wizards. This is this is very much similar to Group A, where it's 2-horse race, and then it's like the rest of the 3 are just going to have to like figure it out. Celtics are the Celtics. I've talked about them enough, and you don't need to hear me talk about them more. The Cavs they're undefeated for a reason. It's as simple as that. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are playing incredibly well with each other. Darius Garland is finally healthy, like fully healthy, not having to deal with a jaw injury and also losing 15 pounds. Donovan Mitchell is hitting shots, but their role players, Ty Jerome, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, those three are really stepping up and helping provide this team big wins. The Bulls, I mean, it's just, I don't know what they're going to do at this point. Like, what is their team philosophy right now? Are they going to sell? Are they going to try and buy in? I don't think so, especially trading away DeMar or losing DeMar. I think that was their sign of saying, I think we are not, we know our time is kind of running out, but you never know. Like, Zach LaVine could easily have a 40-point night. Kobe White could have a 30-point night, and then Vooch could have like a 20 and 10 night. And I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever. The Hawks are a lot better team than people want to give credit for. Having a core of Trae Young, Onyeka Okongwu, Dyson Daniels, and Jalen Johnson is very good. I don't know what they're going to do with Trae at the deadline, or if they even will. I don't think they should, because I think they're like one or two pieces away from really stepping up. The Wizards are the Wizards. They're a better team than it shows on paper. They gave a good fight to the Celtics in the second game of the season, but it's just Alex Sarr is really underperforming in my opinion, and it isn't great to see. So we will now go through the winners out of the A group. Out of the West. This is kind of a shocker, I guess. I have the Kings. I'm pretty high on the Kings now. I just think they're balanced. They're not as I feel like when it comes to late games, you rely on your guys. With the Wolves last year, they were able to rely on Cat and Ant. This year, I feel like it's just Ant. Like, at times, it's like DiVincenzo might have a moment, or Randall might have a moment, but it really does just feel like, all right, it's Ant time. He's going to take over. I just feel like the Kings have more balance. I just think they're a little bit of a stronger ball club, but it will be interesting to see for sure. So I have the Kings winning in the West, or Group A in the West. Group B, Thunder, Suns, Lakers, Jazz, Spurs. I have the Lakers purely because of health. I think maybe the Thunder and the Suns might get lucky and they might steal one from either one each other. But it's just losing Chet, losing that dynamic of height and interior defense, one of the best interior defenders in the league so far. And then we don't really know the status of Nurkic and Bradley Beal for the Suns, but losing KD really just, especially at this point in the year, does not help. So if the Lakers stay healthy, then I think it's right now the Lakers group to lose. Group C, Nuggets, Mavs, Pelicans, Warriors, Grizzlies. I have the Nuggets winning, and I have the Warriors being the wild card team. Two, sure, very basic picks, but I just think the Nuggets are really catching their stride right now, and the Warriors have found their stride and are just going to continue to go. So I just think unless that game ends up in Golden State, then maybe it's those two teams just flip-flop, and it's like Nuggets get the wild card and Warriors get the win the group. But I just think it's those two teams. The Mavs do have the opportunity to put up a fight. If Luka shoots about 50% on the amount of shots he takes, then 100%, they have a very good chance, especially with the way Kyrie has been playing. Clay didn't really shoot that well against the Nuggets, but very much rhythm guy. If he gets his rhythm, there's very few shooters in the world that are better than Klay Thompson. And we've seen that before. I mean, like 30-something points in a quarter, 14 threes in a game. He's one of the best shooters of all time for a reason. Out of the East A group, I have the Knicks. Mainly because I just think losing Tyrese really hurts the Sixers' chances. The Magic don't have enough firepower to keep up with the Knicks. Same with the Nets and the Hornets. They might lose one game, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win that group. Group B, I have the Pacers. I think they're also starting to catch their stride, and we did see this last year, especially with the Pacers. This is a tournament built off of momentum. the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton really kicked it into high gear, especially against the Celtics in the quarterfinals and then beating the Bucks again in the semifinals, which they ended up going outside of their playoff series. I think it was like 4-1 against them in the regular season. So very much the Pacers could win this, or who knows, maybe Dame and Giannis just have an absurd two-man game for the entire like group stage, and they win the group. So I think it's between the Bucks and the Pacers right now, but I'm going to lean more Pacers. Celtics, Cavs, Bulls, Hawks, Wizards. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I think it's either going to be the winner is going to be either the Celtics and the Cavs, and then the wild card is going to be the Celtics or the Cavs. Whatever team, whoever is the matchup between these two, if the Cavs get home, then I think the Cavs will win the group. If the Celtics are at home for the matchup between the two, I think the Celtics will win the group. It's just the Bulls, the Hawks, and the Wizards, I just don't think they have enough to compete. But I remember looking at this group kind of at the beginning of the year and going, all right, it's pretty much the Celtics and then anybody else. But the Cavs are really stepping it up and proving me wrong. So props to them. In the bracket wise, I don't really know what the matchups will be. I have Kings Warriors, and I think the Warriors would win that. And then Nuggets Lakers, I have the Nuggets. And then Warriors Nuggets on a neutral site, I think the Nuggets are the better team. So I have them in the NBA Cup final. And then out of the East, Celtics Knicks, I have the Celtics winning. Not as much of a blowout as it was in the first game of the season, but I just think the balance of the Celtics is going to propel them. And also just with how they play, especially against a possibly very tired team, would benefit them for sure. Pacers Cavs, I have the Cavs just because, how good they are right now. And then Cavs Celtics rematch, neutral court, I got the Celtics. And then repeats or sets up what probably would have been the best finals matchup in the NBA last year, Nuggets Celtics. I just think the Celtics are too deep. They are too strong of a team. They have too many pieces. With the Nuggets, it's like you can't stop Jokic. It's inevitable he's going to score. It's can you try and contain him? And I think the Celtics have one of the better rosters to contain him. But obviously, these are just predictions. We don't know. So, got the Celtics winning the NBA Cup. Should be interesting to see. Really appreciate all of you. Really appreciate you if you've gotten to this point. If you have, you're the best. I hope you all have a great rest of the week. I will talk to you all again on Friday. Again, Talkin' Triple on Instagram, Talkin' Triple on Twitter, Triple Threat Talk Pod on YouTube. If you know me, you know my personal Instagram. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Today's player. Kind of stuck between two, but I'll go Charlie Villanueva. It's a pretty good one. Bald head man wearing a headband. I don't know why. Probably a sweat thing, but it is what it is. Hope you have a great day. Peace.